allow that many questions to be asked, which is sort of disappointing. So you really didn't get a lot of questions about the Yankees and all that. But that last question was very revealing. It's very simple. Have you talked to any of your now former teammates?
Yeah.
And he was cold-blooded. He's like, no.
It's interesting because he talked more to Starling Marte, it sounds like.
Yeah. And remember Aaron Judge faced a little bit of criticism a couple of weeks ago because Aaron said he hadn't talked to Juan Soto. Mm-hmm. And I thought he had a good answer. His answer was pretty solid. He's like, look, I'm just going to let him be. We just spent the whole year together. He knows what it's like to go through this process. Aaron just went through this process. I'm going to let him go through it. But then you also start to wonder, could that have helped? Especially when you're talking about family and comfort. Could that have helped?
Now, sure. But you also have to have I don't know what kind of relationship Aaron Judge has with Juan Soto.
Could have been strictly business.
Could have been. He's here for a year, right? He came at the beginning of the season, went through spring training, played a season, and then he was in free agency.
Right.
I don't assume that they were hanging out. Maybe on the road they'd get together, but I don't know.
Plus, when you spend that much time with the same people, you need a break.
I agree.
It's like us on the weekend with Loogie. It's like, we need a break. We just spent 5 straight days with you. Let's take a break. But it's interesting. And the Mets have been doing this the last few years. I don't fully understand it with some of these press conferences. They'll let 7 questions go, and then that's it. They almost feel like they cut it too short because you could ask Juan Soto a million questions, not just more on what he saw in the Mets. And he talked a lot about family, and he used a word that I have never heard. I'm telling you right now, I've been a Met fan since I could, talk. I have never heard a word that he used twice during that press conference.
Not pertaining to the Mets.
Not pertaining to the Mets. You know what word I'm talking about.
Of course I do. Dynasty.
Dynasty? What the hell's a dynasty? The only time the Mets are ever associated with a dynasty is that they lost the 73 World Series to a dynasty and the 2000 World Series to a dynasty. That's the only time that word ever gets brought up. And Juan brought that up. He said, we're working on growing a dynasty. And then he repeated it a little bit later on. So, look, for the Met fans out there, I think Juan gave you all the fun stuff. He likes the vibes. He likes the family. He likes the way the organization is growing. He likes all these things. He downplayed the money stuff. He really did, T.
Yeah, he did. He basically didn't acknowledge it.
The money's nice. The money will be there.
The money will be there. Of course it'll be there. Steve Cohen's a billionaire.
Right. And he just gave you $765 million.
It doesn't matter if you would have went to Texas or the Yankees or whatever. You were getting money. You were getting a ton of money. It's interesting that he did downplay it so much.
I think a lot of guys do this.
It's a record number of money. It's of being paid.
Right.
He's making $51 million a year. Could be up towards of $55 million a year when all said and done if they choose to buy out his option. And so, the fact that it wasn't even asked, really.
Well, it was asked, and he downplayed it.
Well,
he said,
it was asked at the end. But, hey, Juan, how does it feel to be the highest paid athlete in the history of sports?
Right.
We thought Pat Mahomes, when he signed that $500 million contract, now I think he's redone that a couple times, so maybe it's even higher, but whatever. We thought that was unprecedented. This is unprecedented in sports, not just in baseball, in sports.
And this is very typical because I told you I've listened to a lot of these press conferences, even when it doesn't involve my player, because in the past it really hasn't involved my player. But I remember Shohei Ohtani last year through his interpreter. Yeah, that interpreter. Yeah. But I had nothing to say about that. He downplayed the money too, and that's what guys do in free agency. So for anyone who was looking,
I don't think it's free agency. I think it's gloating. Like, you just made $750 or $65 million,
right?
And it's guaranteed.
It's gloating, but it's also admitting that the reason you went to a place wasn't necessarily all the shiny things you mentioned.
It's also tacky, though. Like talking about money is tacky.
So you think if you were in that situation,
I wouldn't talk about it either.
Well, let me give you a hypothetical.
Right.
And I know this wouldn't happen with you because I think you're Aaron Judge more than you are Juan Soto. You would have stayed with the Giants.
Yeah.
But let's just say you got to free agency in the prime of your career. Okay, it's 2004, and you're in free agency. And the New York Giants want you back, but the Pittsburgh the New York Jets go further. Yeah. Let's make believe Curtis Martin doesn't exist or he retired, okay?
Did he?
He was there,
I think he retired the next year.
Yeah, no, he was there. So
right.
I'm trying to and you went to the Jets because they offered you a lot more money. You wanted to go back to the Giants, right. But you know what Jets offered? Would you sit there at the press conference and say, look, they offered me the most money?
No, you know why? Because it's not – the number we're talking about, it's hard to conceptualize it. $765 million, $51 million a year is more than CEOs of Fortune 500 companies.
Right.
And he's not making this for a couple of years like Dak Prescott, who's going to make his 60 and be done after 3 or 4 years, whatever, because he's not that dude, and we all know it. He's making $765 million for over the next 15 years, guaranteed.
Right.
In fact, Fortune 500 CEOs don't stay CEOs long enough to make that money.
Right.
They get fired after 5 years or get a downturn in their market capitalization, and they're out. Like this is like life, like family for generation changing money, and so. I get why it's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Like you just, hey, Juan, tell me about your great-great-great-grandkids. Guess what? They're going to be millionaires, too.
It's true.
And if you invest it correctly, just do it 5% compounded over the next 15 years, they're going to be billionaires. And so, like, it's hard to, I think, even conceptualize it as an athlete, especially as a 26-year-old athlete who knows about money, obviously, but this is wealth. This is generational wealth.
Yeah.
And so talking about it is tacky. And so, again, Steve Cohen, you don't hear him talking about his billions. Oh, I have $16 billion. You don't hear him talking about those things.
Right.
Mark Bezos, none of these guys talk about the billions of dollars that they have.
So then do you like the way Juan took this? Because if I totally get your point. You're looking at it from a very different perspective, too, about it's just tacky to talk about how much money you made.
Right.
Do you think he handled it the right way on why he came to the New York Mets?
Yeah, without a doubt.
He believes in them, the family stuff.
Right. He was getting this money regardless of where he went. I mean, maybe not as much. Maybe that fifth generation of grandkids is not as rich, right? But he was getting this much money no matter where he went. And so there probably was more to it. The Mets sold him expertly because he kept talking about
they may have sold
what he was going to be a part of.
Yeah, they may have sold him on the family stuff without realizing how important that was to him. And that doesn't mean that those incidences at Yankee Stadium was really impacting him or that's why he didn't want to stay with the Yankees. But maybe to him, when he entered free agency, family was the most important thing and how they handle my father when he wants to come into the locker room or my kids. I don't even know if he has kids right now, but he has a 15-year contract. He may have a few kids before it's all said and done. And maybe the Mets sell without them even realizing it with Alex Cohen's project of improving the family room and things like that. Maybe that had a bigger impact on him than they even realized.
Maybe.
But here's the bottom line. Juan Soto is a New York Met. And my dad texted me during the press conference and he said, "Are you tearing up?" And you know what the honest answer is?
No,
As he was talking.
You weren't tearing up.
I was not tearing up. That is, I will confirm it. There was no tears. But as he was talking, I could only think about one thing. And this may surprise you. I kept thinking about the amount of times this man, this wonderful 26-year-old man, would haunt my dreams as a Washington National. I keep thinking of fly balls to left center field. I keep thinking of bombs over the freaking bridge. I keep thinking of the Pepsi porch, Coca-Cola corner. You can rename it. Right. Soto was putting one over it.
Right, but they traded him. That's their fault.
I know, but for years he killed the Mets. And then he goes to San Diego and briefly he kills the Mets. Then he goes to the Yankees. We barely see him 2 games in Citi Field, but you know what he did in those 2 games? He hit a bomb. So I was thinking to myself, I am so happy. Before I even get to him being on the Mets, I'm so happy I don't have to face him. But we'll get to your calls. We'll get to Sean and Loogie's response to it as well. What Juan Soto had to say as he is now officially a New York Met. The toll-free number is 888-808-1019. We'll get your reaction coming up. Evan and Tiki on the Fan. But as I sit here right now, I have one thing he said that is dancing in my brain.
Dynasty.
No.
What?
It has to do with the Yankees. That he hasn't talked to any of his teammates.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if I should be surprised by that. Like Aaron Judge told us, hey, I haven't reached out to him. I'm giving him space. And I understood it and I accept it. And I don't even think I'm mad at Aaron Judge. I'm just thinking you have 25 guys that are your teammates. Like by accident you haven't talked to them. And I don't know what this tells me. Does it tell us anything?
You're dead to me.
Maybe.
I don't think so. I mean, it tells us that maybe they were told to give him space. I don't know.
You think it may have been a marching order from the Yankees? Give him space?
I don't know. Or maybe he just wasn't tight with anybody.
Maybe
during the season. It's hard to know because we're not in the clubhouse. And like they travel so much and there wasn't an off season with him as a Yankee. You know what I mean? It's not like he was there for 2 years. I'd be more interested, to talk to if we could hear from like San Diego Padre players because they had them through 2 seasons, right, or half of one season, and then through an off season. And then into the next season. So what did you do in the offseason?
Yeah, well,
there was no offseason for Juan Soto with the Yankees.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you? Once games start, once spring training starts, you're just grinding and playing baseball.
Yeah, and look, maybe everybody's different. I mean, we've seen that there are certain Met teammates that talk to each other a lot or train with each other, like Lindor and Vientos did last year. We've seen guys hang out together, so obviously it's a thing. I just wonder, especially if you're a Yankee fan who still says, like, you aren't coping, you're not making excuses. You're like, man, I wanted the player back, and every advantage matters. And you hear Juan Soto say this. Hear this one more time. This is the very end of the press conference because he wasn't asked a lot about the New York Yankees. The Mets kept this press conference very neat and tidy, very short. It was mostly Met beat reporters asking questions, so it was not very heavy on the Yankees. But the last question is the question in this clip, by the way, Sean?
Let me double check.
All right, double check real quick. Otherwise, I'll set the question up, and you'll hear Juan Soto be asked and then answer if he has spoken to any of his Yankee teammates since the end of the World Series, which has now been about a month and a half. So here's the question. Here's the answer. Juan Soto from just a few minutes ago.
You've been in touch with anybody from your former team, and can you share what those conversations with your now former team, the Yankees, and could you share what those conversations might have been like?
I haven't talked to any of those guys. Definitely, we talked to them through at the end of the playoffs, but after that, I make this process. I haven't talked to any of those.
That's cold-blooded.
You're dead to me.
There is a little "you're dead to me" in that. That comment makes me think he knew he was gone.
Well, it also sounds like he didn't have a relationship with those guys. I mean, that would have been a good follow-up. Like, what kind of relationship did you have with those Yankee players from last year?
The only guy
like they didn't have any.
The one guy who we saw him out and about with is Gleyber Torres, who is also a free agent.
Right.
So I don't know if he was thinking in his brain, I am talking to Gleyber, but I'm not going to count him because he's a free agent. But I think we've seen many pictures of them hanging out. But maybe he just didn't have a lot of friends in the room.
I have a tough time with this from Aaron Judge's point of view as a Yankee fan.
What do you mean?
I'm not turning my back on Aaron Judge or anything like that, but Aaron Judge was given this captainship a year ago when he signed that, and he vocally said he wanted to have more input on the organization, the future of the organization. He was vocal about that. He just played for a year and finally made a World Series with this guy. Now, right, we don't know their personal relationship. On the field, it appeared like they had a good relationship. In this process, knowing that Aaron Judge, by the way, had gone through this process too, as a captain, to me, I view my captain as, if we even feel it's close to not getting him, I need to at least pick up the phone and call Juan Soto and try to convince him, even if it doesn't work, even if he was always going to the highest bidder, on why he needs to be my teammate for the next however many years I'm here.
Yeah, I hear you're probably right, but I'm trying to hear what that conversation sounds like.
Hey, before you make any final decisions, I think both of us could benefit and become all-time icons.
I honestly just feel like it's not going to be communicated well.
And maybe it wouldn't be, but guess what? They lost him anyway, Teak.
Yeah,
You're the captain. I can't hear that you haven't spoke since the World Series.
I just don't know who he was tight with. If it was Gleyber's not picking up the phone.
Well, you know what? To his point, Aaron Judge is the captain.
Right. That's why I went to Judge. He's the captain, and he himself said he wanted to have more of a vocal presence in what the organization
maybe
does.
He didn't want him.
Well, okay.
And maybe that's true.
Go to that level. Maybe Aaron Judge privately is like, I don't want this guy making double the amount of money that I am.
Not even double the amount of money. Maybe he just wasn't. I don't know. He wasn't personal.
Maybe he didn't vibe in the room.
Yeah. We don't know.
Remember that random caller from August who said that Juan Soto looked disgusted by Jazz Chisholm? Maybe it was all true.
Maybe Aaron Judge went to call Juan Soto, but he dropped his phone. It broke and then wasn't able to call.
So you think Juan Soto ignored Aaron Judge?
No, I'm saying Aaron Judge can't catch a fly ball. Dropped his phone. Phone broke.
Maybe they were hacked by China.
Maybe that was it.
By the way, is happening.
Excuse me?
What is happening?
Our phone systems were hacked by China.
You're just going to throw that in here right now?
I better delete some photos.
It's nothing for us normal people. Mostly for spies.
Okay. Is that what's going on with the drones?
Departments of Defense.
Is that the drones covering over New Jersey?
Honestly, you're probably. That was the first thing I said to you. That was my first speculation when we talked about this whenever it was, 2 weeks ago. I said it's probably China.
Is it normal? Just getting back to this. Is it normal? Like, I'm trying to think back to the past of free agents and guys who got there. Like, did Derek Jeter call Bernie Williams when he was a free agent about to go to the Red Sox?
That's a good question.
I think about that. I know it's a little different because they were teammates a lot longer than Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, but I'm just thinking, like, in general, is that a thing when guys get to free agency?
I think so much of it depends on the relationship, and we have no idea what that relationship is or was. Really, it's now was with his former Met teammates. Like, I can't
Yankees.
even. I mean,
I know you're already thinking about Juan as a Met. I get it,
right? But no, honestly, because he's a Met,
right?
But I feel like he kind of already has a relationship with his now new Met teammates. Because he talked about having conversations with Starling Marte, and who knows how long Starling Marte stays on this Mets team, but that's neither here nor there. He has conversations with them. Francisco Lindor, he seems like he had a good relationship with him, even if it was just through baseball circles. Remember when he got hit, right? And he came flying in from the outfield and was checking on Lindor. So I don't feel like we know what he had in the Yankees clubhouse, but we feel like it's already solid in the Mets clubhouse. Right. Which is weird because he's never been in the Mets clubhouse.
So another layer to this, Juan Soto introduced as a New York Met. He talks about family. He talks about the future. He talks about a burgeoning dynasty, but he also says he hasn't talked to any former Yankee teammates throughout the offseason. Let's get to your calls, 888-808-1019. Let's go to Josh in Smithtown. How are you, Josh?
Hey, guys, good. Two things. You never really get a lot, and you got to read between lines on it, right? So, first, it sounded like Steve Cohen really thought that, there was a chance they weren't going to get him, and I would imagine that was because of the Yankees being as aggressive as they were. So, that was the first thing. Second, there was two times both Steve Cohen and Juan Soto himself mentioned 20 years being a possibility. It really sounds like if this offer maxes out, it's going to be a 20-year, $800 million deal. Which is really, and congrats.
I think you're looking too closely into the 20 years. It's a 15-year contract, and I think Scott Boras and then Juan Soto followed it, jokingly said, hey, he's in great shape at 41. Maybe he'll play 5 more years. That's all I think that was.
I mean, the $800 million is almost certain anyways. It's, I think, upwards of $820 if they buy out his option after year 5, which they're going to do. Because he's not going to be a diminished player at 30 or 31. And so he's going to make $820 million playing 15 years.
15 years. The 20-year thing, which, our last caller's right. You listen to every word said. First, it was Scott Boras who said 15, maybe 20 years. And then Juan Soto followed suit. I think is probably a 26-year-old athlete who takes great care of himself, who works his ass off, who probably thinks, I could play till I'm 47. Now, that is very unlikely to happen. Yeah. And that's a great discussion we can have in 15 years upon free agency. And I don't know if we'll all be here talking to each other. I may be in a retirement home by that point. What's 15? I'm 56 years old.
Oh, I definitely will be.
You're done? What's your cutoff?
65?
Why, Boomer's 65. He's still working. Yeah. How old is Boomer? Did I just make him older than he actually is?
He's that old.
Okay.
No, he's not 13 years ahead of me.
63.
63. I mean, he's kind of close.
Yeah, he's going to be 64 in April.
All right. So he's basically a senior citizen.
Right. He doesn't feel like that, though.
No, he feels young. He's like Beningo. Beningo's the same way, by the way.
I also feel like he wasn't that distant from me as a player.
Well, that's because you're getting old, too.
That's true.
Let's go to Matt in Florida. What's up, Matt?
Hey, Ev, how you doing, pal? Long time no speak. I used to be Matt from White Plains, the baseball coach. How are you,
Look at you living down in Florida. I'm good, man. Good to hear from you. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, you too. I listen. I just don't call as much. I got a 4-year-old. I'm busy. Hey, listen. Let me just say. Let me make 3 points about Soto. And by the way, I don't care about Mets, Yankees. Makes no difference to me. God bless him. Number one, he ain't 26. Okay, trust me, he's not. When he was 19, no, for real. I mean, I lived that world. I played. He ain't 26. That's number one. Number two, I thought about this for a minute. His at bat against that Indians pitcher was phenomenal. It was must-see TV.
Right.
Okay, I don't watch TV no more because I can't watch it. That was fun. I walked into my job the next day and told the guy, did you see that at-bat? That was phenomenal. Now, with that said, Odell Beckham, the catch he made, okay, propelled his career. He stinks. Jadeveon Clowney, if you remember, he smoked the guy in college at South Carolina and was the number 1 pick. Oh, did you see that hit? Dude, it was one hit. Now, Tiki, I didn't play in the majors. I played in the minors, so I'm not a narc.
Yeah.
Okay. But one play don't make you. Okay. Harold Miner, Baby Jordan, made a career off a dunk contest. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but he's had so many great moments, though.
He's a good player.
Of course he is. I don't think we can define Juan Soto by one or two moments.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair. Like, I get
it's his plate discipline. It's his ability when he wants to really be a home run hitter.
Yeah, I think that I totally get how a play has brought other players up to a level that's not fair, and I like that list. It almost is inspiring me to tell Sean, hey, on a slow day, make a Cinco de Five on guys who have been made by one play. So I do get that,
right.
But Juan Soto is much more than that. He's a great hitter.
He's a lot more than that, and he walks, and he does things from a baseball standpoint, because we don't know anything else otherwise, the right way. Right, and it just feels like that success is not because he's just a good athlete. It's because he works to be great at his craft.
That at-bat is the exclamation point on what was a great season by him, and obviously a great Yankee season. They got to the World Series. But that doesn't make him. Like, if Juan Soto doesn't have that at-bat, if he grounds out, he's still getting this money. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's impacted at all. Real quick, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get you your calls. 888-808-1019 is the toll-free number. Plus more on what was said today by Steve Cohen, by Juan Soto, and more on Soto admitting he hasn't talked to any of his former Yankee teammates.
And more on he has a message for Yankee fans.
Oh, we've got a message from Juan Soto?
We'll play that when we come back.
We've got a message from Juan Soto to Yankee fans. We'll all hear together next.